This summer, the world's #1 zoological action show comes to Channel 31. 7 competitors, 7 continents, 7 zoos,
1
winner. Welcome to 7 Zoos.
I'm the hill looking over the bridge to the MCG. I'm Leo Roboto. Welcome along to another Wiki episode of The Struggle. On the program tonight, condiment contraband, calamity in Canberra, and where babies really come from. But first, a bombshell expose was released by the ABC last week on the 18-year cover-up of a massive leak at Darwin's liquefied natural gas tank. Despite concerns being raised since the facility's inception, long-time operators ConocoPhillips maintained that the leakage was negligible, and regulators ran with this line until surveys in 2019 revealed the tank was leaking up to 184 kilograms of methane per hour into the Darwin air. Putting that into perspective, 95 kilograms of methane per hour is roughly equivalent to the annual emission of 8,000 new cars, or 5 big bean-eating boys. You'd assume an environmental catastrophe would be of concern to the Northern Territory's environmental regulator, and it was, once they found out about it 8 months later. But to be fair, ConocoPhillips had a bit going on at the time. I mean, for one, they were already in the process of selling the plant's operations to fellow gas giant Santos, a factor alleged to have lowered their asking price somewhat. And for two, they had to get the plant's operating licence extension signed off by the regulator. Just hours after the deal was done, and 8 months after they were obligated to report it, the NT-EPA were notified of the extent of the gas leak. Initially, the agency was worried about the leaky tank exploding all of Darwin, but they gave the all clear once it was confirmed that the hazards posed by the leak were less Uncle Barry blowing up and more millions of tonnes of carbon dioxide being pumped into the lungs and air of Territorians. All the same, when the Bayou field and the Timor Sea ran dry in 2023, Darwinians were glad to see the big leaky esky go out of commission. For most of the plant's operation, it was used to store gas tapped from the Timorese field. See, after gaining independence from Indonesia following decades of Australian oil-sanctioned occupation, Timor-Leste signed the 2002 Timor Sea Treaty, effectively granting us 82 and 10% control of the whopping Greater Sunrise Field, leaving Timor-Leste the control of the smaller Bayou one. But after the goons at The Hague, along with that treacherous Witness K, forced us back to the now debugged negotiating table, the 2018-19 boundary treaty saw Timor-Leste bang more bucks from the Greater Sunrise Field, much to Australia's behest, and just in time for the Bayou gas field to run dry 4 years later. So as Santos gears up to restart pumping liquefied gas into that very same tank that's been leaking for 18 years, at least Darwinians can rest easy on the knowledge that the tons of gas leaking into their environment isn't the product of some post-Suharto ACES buggery, rather truly homegrown, farm-to-table liquefied natural gas. And isn't that nice? Anyway, in news that will delight our viewers and dismay our parents, like a fine rotten mahogany, the Liberal Party is facing crisis across all its branches. Menzies Institute insider and future member for Kooyong Violette has the story.
The Liberal Party has been neglecting their usual persona of that relative that somehow started investing while in utero, regressing to the level of Year 7 relationships, iPad babies and hysterical working women. While federal leaders try to claw back their image with talks of gender quotas and net zero, here in Victoria, rank-and-file Liberal members are preparing to shift policy in a new direction at this week's annual State Council meeting. They're bringing daddy quotas to the table, bribing back the votes of any males lost by a female leader with paid paternity leave, recognising that what the Liberal Party really needs is parental guidance. It took 4 months and a stern talking to from the Liberal Party's longest-serving daddy to realise that they were fighting over quotas for the wrong population. I mean, Labor has had quotas for females since the 90s. And what fun they are. For the first time in party history, the Liberals are shockingly low on daddies, and Victorian members won't stand for it. Fingers crossed 4 weeks of guaranteed paid daddy leave will be enough to drag the dads back to their Liberal devotion. That and another proposed policy swapping rights for Victorian renters to own pets or feel secure that they won't die of carbon monoxide poisoning in their sleep. You know, supporting the real victims of the rental crisis. dads with 3 investment properties. Now, there's plenty more fun to be had at the Victorian Liberals' annual policy meeting than just fatherly charm. 64 motions will be discussed, including a regulated cannabis market in Victoria. With the promise of a joint and some fatherly authority, the Liberals are hoping to lure over the crossbench cool kids and perhaps get them to sign on to their housing policy while they're at it.
Daddy.
Let's all of us wish the entire Liberal apparatus the best of luck rolling out their swags of peculiar new policies. Dismaying soy boys statewide, the South Australian government recently announced a move to ban those little soy sauce fish. Before this story goes from culinary to true crime, we sent our illicit substances reporter Jimmy to investigate. Thoreau style.
After last Monday's price hike saw the cost of cigarettes rise by almost 7%, it's no wonder that many Australians are turning to the black market. Shockingly, the Australian Taxation Office estimates that up to 1 in 5 tobacco sales are now made illegally. But we here at The Struggle are concerned about another dangerous trade opening up. No, not machetes. Soy sauce fishies. The country's maritime graveyard, South Australia, has seen at least 34,000 dead fish in recent months. And now, even the iconic plastic fish aren't safe. Those still wanting their fishy fix are having to travel across state lines to stash the trash and then resell them at inflated rates. Speaking on condition of anonymity, one dealer told me how the emerging umami underworld is thriving.
The ban is a great business opportunity for me. I used to only sell cigs, but now people are blowing up my phone asking for brown nectar. I've made more in the past few days than in months. My most popular deal is what I call the Hairy Smokes. 5 cigs and 2 fish for $1.50. It's less stress too, you know. I've not had any fireballs, which was always the danger with tobacco. But I'm expecting surf and turf wars. Isn't rival gangs catch on, you know what I'm talking about?
Authorities are scratching their heads as to how to deal with the floods of fish on the black market. Perhaps they should model their approach on the Allen government and introduce soy sauce disposal bins in an amnesty period, because that will definitely work.
Without sauce dispensers, what are me and the girls meant to sip on while we lounge around making snide remarks and telling ribald anecdotes? Squid sauce? Wine? I think this is a question that may be best answered by the mean girls of global politics, the macroplastics. My old pals Vlad, KJ and the X-Man met up at the canteen to bring you this.
It was so cool catching up with you guys at the military gather last week. We do not see each other enough.
Oh, I know. I feel like I never get out of North Korea these days. It was nice to get together. Of course, you guys looked fab, but everyone is talking about how stylish I looked in my almond train.
Oh, for real, Queen, it was so fetch and definitely worth it. I had everyone talking about my military showcase.
Oh, I mean, with like a buttload of troops and like guns going pew pew pew, like who wouldn't be?
I know.
On a real note, guys, us leaders of the Global South have to stick together, considering recent developments.
Oh, it's so not fetch. But our guest list had leaders from some of the most heavily sanctioned nations, like Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian and Myanmar Judah Chief Min Aung Hlaing. Anyways, it was the sickest gather of the century.
And did you see our girl, Danny Andrews, former Victorian State Premier, standing a few rows behind me at the photo shoot?
Oh my God, yeah, we shook hands and everything. It was so nice for him to come, even though former State Premier Bob Carr was in Beijing and didn't even come to my parade.
Oh. Queen Bee Anthony Albanese did only invite like the junior reps, you know what I'm saying though? I do feel like maybe we missed inviting someone.
We have rules, okay? On Wednesdays we wear pink, we only wear our hair in ponytails once a week, and if you put tariffs on more than 90 countries, you can't sit with us. Plus, I promise to stand with my friend Putin against international and hegemonic bullying.
What's hypopneumatic?
Doesn't matter.
You can't just kick me out. I invented you. There would be no East without West.
Don't take it personally, Kate. You weren't the only Western leader not invited.
I bet you just had an awesome time listening to awesome marching band practices, just soaking up each other's awesomeness. I'm a massive deal.
You're so not fetch, Trump.
Stop trying to make fetch a thing. It will never happen.
It's already a thing and you're not part of it.
Oh my God.
Thank you, ladies, for that fascinating discussion. Now, something else that's not going to happen anymore is the struggle. Until we get back from these local advertisements. Ads away!
Welcome back to the struggle.
What the hell is that thing? Until recently, the classic prank of surprise insemination was the biggest shock one could get out of an IVF clinic. But somehow, the clowns at the Queensland Fertility Group have managed to outdo themselves, offering mystery sperm inseminations to patients. Ethan sat down with an insider to get a sense for this seminal story.
A shocking discovery in one of Queensland's major fertility clinics in which 99% of the facility's donor sperm has been found to be at a high risk of a potential mix-up. This was the result of an investigation into Queensland Fertility Group, sparked by the facility's cover-up of a major IVF blunder, where a Brisbane couple gave birth to a child whose features and ethnicity were entirely different from the sperm donor they had chosen. So right now we have an exclusive source from Queensland who has agreed to reveal more about QFG's outrageous conduct. Please, tell us what you found.
Well, Ethan, it's not what I found, it's who I found. I have brought with me a few souls who've experienced firsthand the gross negligence of QFG.
What?
That's right, the sperm themselves.
Wait, how did you get that?
Not important. Don't ask, it's not important. Please, can we get a close-up of the cup?
Thank you for letting us speak, Win. The facility company has kept our struggle a secret for the past 11 years.
We're part of the 99.8% of the sperm frozen before 2020 who are rated high or medium risk of mix-up because QFG neglected to employ end-to-end double witnessing.
That means the details of who we belong to were not double-checked by the professionals during the IVF procedure.
Now we don't even know if the names on our labels are actually the names of our parents. You know how painful it is to not know where you come from?
I do. I come from the left nut.
We demand a reconstitution.
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 This is amazing. I didn't know that they could talk.
Hey, be careful with that.
Gross. Ugh. It's stories like these that make me want to curl up at the desk and go to sleep forever. Regrettably, any dreams I may still harbour of living out my Sleeping Beauty fantasy have taken a serious hit in recent weeks as melatonin sales to Australia have dried up like the Murray. Take a look.
All right, children, quiet down. Now, you might be wondering why you've been snatched out of your important learning time to sit in a sweaty, dark van and watch a wilting puppet fearmonger you for an hour. Well, I've got one word for you: drugs. Now, I'm not talking about your classic powders, pills, and illustrious smoking devices. No, the new harmful drug to hit the streets is melatonin. Once a little gummy that you could take to ease you into a beautiful night's slumber is now that much harder to get your sticky little palms on, all because you children have been taking too much of it, boosting the melatonin overdoses in kids from 175 in 2018 to 322 this year. As of late August, the US-based supplement company iHerb suspended sales of melatonin products in Australia. Melatonin is usually only a prescription-based drug in this country, but you cheeky children seem to have found yourself a little loophole by buying those supplements from overseas online-based retailers. This is an important time to teach you tots about peer pressure. Next time your parents are fed up with you bouncing around the house before bedtime and offer you a delicious little gummy that'll make you go night-night, all you have to do is say, "No, Mum. The Australian Register of Therapeutic Goods says that's no good for me." So just remember, kids, crack is whack.
Thanks, Harold. Yet we all know the rhyme. Crack is whack, but puff is tough. Fenton Benzo's never enough. Thanks to Gonski for that one. You know what else could be Gonski? Freedom of information to government documents. The struggle's very own tyrant, Generalissima Amy Caruso, with this interrogation.
The immortal and magnificent Albanese government has announced plans to limit peasant access to government documents under magnificent new freedom of information rules. Citizens, put your feet up. We'll let you know what you need to know. Frivolous and vexatious applications will be banned and new rules will be put in place to help our heroic and valiant FOI officers deal with annoying and pointless applications whose only purpose is to destroy the golden soil and wealth for toil of the eternal and invincible Commonwealth of Australia. The big beautiful ban will see new charges put in place for journalists and politicians wanting to disembowel the good work of the immortal and magnificent Albanese government and destroy the forever home that was our most excellent democracy. Valued friend and triumphant pandemic warrior, Comrade Dan Andrews, took matters into his own hands and hung out with the best of the despot best in Beijing recently. Comrade Andrews' noble side quest, combined with his world-leading mastery of curfews and playground bans, will prove invaluable as the immortal and magnificent Albanese government takes our mighty country one step closer to bureaucratic freedom. The immortal and magnificent Albanese government claims the need for the changes is due to an increase of anonymous requests that they believe could be from foreign actors, powers or criminal gangs that are trying to destroy the very fabric of what is the eternal and invincible Commonwealth of Australia. Perhaps the immortal and magnificent Albanese government is launching this bold, brave and heroic cost saving to help roll out an extension of parliamentary terms and add an additional 10 more defenders to the Commonwealth. Because what we all need now is more of them spending more time in power to justify less of what they're actually doing. I guess the only thing left to say now is, all hail the great and powerful elbow.
Now, studies show that the average Joe, or Leo, just isn't in tune with the news anymore. With the struggle fanbase nearing the size of BTS, we were understandably a little confused by these findings. So we sent Kriti and Yasmin onto the street to see if these facts hold firm.
Yay! People have been tuning out news like how I tune out my problems. News is almost on the verge of becoming non-existent.
Dodging the news has officially become people's coping mechanisms, almost overtaking Pilates. The Reuters Institute and Oxford University notes that 40% of respondents surveyed across 50 different countries sometimes or often avoid the news.
Do you avoid the news?
Yeah, I do.
Kind of.
Yeah, sometimes I do.
I don't avoid the news. If you do, then what do you replace it with?
I think just Instagram, to be honest.
I'll replace it with just my own job. I have, different things to do.
Mainly social media. So I follow specific pages, I get my news from there.
And have you ever found yourself reading a full, in-depth news article online or physical paper? No. I find them very long, lots of ads, very biased. Yeah, no.
I think if you read it online and from social media, we have a lot more options to read about, not only limited to what is printed out.
So I read one physical copy newspaper, and it's just the Mandarins. It's like basically about like government policy, essentially. Yeah.
It's really hard in this day and age to have the time to sit down and watch the news or read the newspaper.
Well, Dad, you were right. I should have just done medicine instead. Back to you, Leo.
Still to come on tonight's struggle, I sit down with the host of the upcoming 7 Zoos, a look inside asbestos, and some filthy, filthy limericks. Stay tuned. Stop it! Stop! Stop! Away! Another look now inside the world of the working man as 3 local salarymen sent in this report on a potentially perilous development coming soon to Aussie roads.
Folks, I don't know about you, but I hate the morning commute.
And what about the evening commute?
Well, once Tesla officially brings autopilot over to our right-hand drive market, I could have a power nap while I'm being driven home. I trust it that much.
Despite there being at least 211 known Tesla autopilot crashes from 2018 to 2023?
Don't say that. I punch blokes in the mouth for saying that. Anyway, I was thinking, what if we had our own private roads to avoid all the traffic? You know, that would avoid the death toll on the roads. And on these private roads, we had only Teslas that were connected together, like a human centipede, but for Teslas. We could transport the public. My God, we could have a whole tunnel with this invention that loops around the CBD, and forget the need for stopping to recharge. Let's run a wire across the tops of the roads and mount some kind of overhead electrical system that, you know, contacts the wire and delivers power to the motors constantly. This is brilliant. I need a name for this. Let's call it the high capacity,
With deepest sympathies to the family of Mr. Kalig, his remains will be available for collection from the Struggle Lost and Found until Friday. Earlier this year, public discourse was inundated with discussion over whether a woman is safer alone in the woods with a man or with a bear. We Aussies sadly have been locked out of this debate since the extinction of the Berwick brown bear, until now. Our Ursine wildlife and spaghetti correspondent takes us out bush with this next one.
G'day, I'm a bear. I came to Australia to be one of the scariest predators around, only to discover there were more dangerous creatures afoot, or should I say, afoot. Just last month, a 9-year-old surfer survived a shark attack in New South Wales, avoiding a grisly fate. These gilly guys are not taking kindly to you invading their habitat, but you humans just can't seem to stay out of where you don't belong. And it just leads to experiencing an average of 20 shark attacks per year in Australia. Further to this, the statistics on shark attacks in Australia have been a long-lasting, consistent reputation buster. Maybe that's why I'm the only bear in this country. Honestly, it must be unbearable for all those sharks dealing with those pesky humans. As a bear, I don't love the taste of people, but I do love a swim. And to my dismay, it's not only a water predator that has its bases covered in Australia. Snakes have been slithering around Aussie longgrass for a few 100,000 years. The eastern browns and red ballybacks, and many Australians know to keep out of the grass and your local wetlands. But alas, Australia still steals potential victims from snake bites caused primarily by eastern browns. So make sure not to walk around barefoot. Regional towns are especially victim to this, with a recent fatality in the Northern Territory town of Katherine, and with the Royal Flying Doctor Service encountering approximately 3,000 snake bites per year. Fatalities barely occur, with only 550 of these snake bites ending in hospitalizations. Anyway, I'm gonna find some fish. Back to you in the studio.
Who let that segment go to air? You know I'm deathly allergic. Deathly allergic to bears. Well, most kinds of bears at least. Before we wrap up tonight, in the spirit of pretending we're a real news program, it's time for the weather. Filling in for long-time Struggle contributor Lavina Nixon is Toby McGee. Now tell me, Toby, what's on the radar for the weather this week?
Well, Leo, spirits are low and umbrellas are high as spring hasn't unsprung the leak in the sky for most of the country.
Okay.
Showers are expected to continue in Melbourne this week as spring brings forward warmer and wetter conditions than usual, leading to experts warning of an increased bushfire risk for these next 3 months. If we zoom in on Melbourne here, a little closer again. Ooh, a little too close there. We'll move north to Sydney, who recorded their wettest winter in 18 years. Looking at the satellite view here, we can see just how bad this was, as a pool of water is seen severing the city in two. Back home now in the Garden State, we lost that title, as lower than average rainfall would have damaged plants, and climate change led to the surviving ones attacking us out of frustration. Good, I say, let them die. Anyone who cannot stop and smell the roses isn't living anyway. Moving north to Queensland, where we saw snow as it fell on the Sunshine State for the first time since 2013. Some cows there, wondering if they had woken up in New South Wales. But I do have to question, what is the issue? I mean, too much in Sydney, not enough in Melbourne. When you take the average, it's bang on perfect. According to my patented weather gradient, we can predict weather is absolutely perfect directly between the two cities. So there's no cause for concern for people in Canberra. Meanwhile, the nerds at the Bureau of Meteorology predicted that winter temperatures would be above the 1961 to 90 baseline by 1 to 1.5 degrees. But the mean temperature was actually only 0.48 degrees higher. So as far as I'm concerned, you shouldn't be. Everything is totally fine. Looking ahead at the week, we can see some showers continuing for Melbourne, but generally highs above 10 degrees. And that's weather.
Yes, it is, Toby. And you know what else it is? The end of tonight's struggle. So with that, it's good night. Far out, Tone. Their struggle. It's real.
You are my dad. You're my dad. Boogie, woogie, woogie. You are my dad. You're my dad. Boogie, woogie, woogie. You are my dad. You're my dad. Boogie, woogie, woogie. You are my dad. You're my dad. Boogie, woogie, woogie. You are my dad. You're my dad. Boogie, woogie, woogie. You are my dad. You're my dad. Boogie, woogie, woogie. You are my dad. You're my dad. Boogie, woogie, woogie. You are my dad. You're my dad.